as well as responses from the specific ministers concerned. The first, Right Honourable Speaker, relates to a new wave of murders by armed groups in uniform. Early this week, one Rita Nabukenya was killed in Nakawa by a police patrol vehicle. Upon knocking her while riding lawfully on a border towards Kampala, the police picked the young lady before she died, and instead of rushing her to hospital, they took her to Naguru Police Headquarters for some time and subsequently proceeded to Mulago when she could not be resuscitated. She eventually died, and the surroundings that followed again were punctuated with violence from the police firing tear gas canisters and live bullets in the people who were associated with the burial. The police spent over 2 hours arguing with the mourners on where they should take the body. Whereas the People Power movement to which she subscribed wanted, in agreement with the family, wanted to take the body to Kamwacha for viewing, the police dictated that it must go straight to the father's home and eventually had their way, only to beat up mourners later in the night. Yesterday, as mourners were coming back from burial in Chivoga, in Katera, people lined up on Hoima Road, along Hoima Road, cheering the Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, who was driving in the thick traffic of Nansana. The reaction by the police and LDUs again was to fire live bullets that resulted into the death of a young man called Cheyune, who was shot in the eye, which demonstrates that they were targeting to kill somebody, and another young man was shot in the palm and lost that part of his hand. Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, I think the genesis of this is the way police manage what we call public gatherings. We passed a law here in 2015 called the Public Order Management Act, which has continued to be abused by the police, and in their interpretation, it is about disallowing any public meeting which is not of their choice. The Honorable Kyagulanyi has indicated that he intends to run for the presidency of this country. He accordingly wrote to the Electoral Commission as required by the Presidential Elections Act and notified them. He also complied with the Public Order Management Act by writing to the police, notifying them and attaching a schedule. The reaction of the police first is not to respond to the letter until the last hour when they give unimaginable conditions. One of such examples was the meeting that was supposed to be held in Gayaza, where on Sunday night for a meeting scheduled for Monday morning, the DPC invited Honorable Kyagulanyi's team, and among the ridiculous demands by the police was that the organizers should provide, one, a traffic plan for people who are coming from different directions. The second is to provide fire brigade services in the event of a fire. The third was to provide sniffer dogs as if they man the canine unit of the police. The following morning, first they had written to the owner, the proprietor of the venue, Gayaza Parish, and instructed them to withdraw the permission to hold the meeting there. The police issued guidelines which contravened the act by requiring venue or operators, before offering their venues, to demand police clearance. On the other hand, when you go to the police to notify them, the key demand they place is that you must have clearance from the venue owner, consent from the owner of the place. Now, it defeats logic. One of the demands they placed is that if you are to hold a public meeting, it has got to be inside a hall. We said, whereas the law does not require that, we agree. The latest demand this week was when we organized the meeting to be in Popo Memorial Hotel in Deva. It is fenced, it is outside the central business district, and in a hall. We paid. After the police had refused to respond to our letter, we took their consent and confirmation that we are cleared. It is not in the middle of any business, because they say, oh, you disrupt business. The police never responded until Monday morning when they went and deployed. Now, you deploy without notifying the person who wrote to you. When Honorable Kyagulanyi proceeded to Ndeba, the result was tear gas, arresting, and shooting. So, Right Honorable Speaker, I have raised this matter for the good of this country, to notify the people. If there is no need for this election, we could be informed accordingly. But the moment you open up the space, and this parliament made a law, that a year to nomination, any aspirant is free to consult, provided he notifies the Electoral Commission, he notifies the local authorities and the local police. Finally, Right Honorable Speaker, the second matter, which is equal of great national importance I'm raising, relates to the Ministry of Agriculture. Since Monday this week, the country has been reading, particularly from the New Vision newspaper, of a fight between two ministers, one of Agriculture and another one, a Minister of State. Over 15 cows that are alleged to have been taken out of the breeding farm in Entebbe, Agric, by the Honorable Bamulangachi Vincent Sempija, Minister for Agriculture. For the information of my colleagues, Right Honorable Speaker, this is a breeding place for stocking the country with high-quality animals. I have visited this farm before myself. They cannot even sell 2 cows to you because the argument is that this being a high-quality breed, it is for all farmers in the country, so we would not disadvantage the rest by giving you more than 1. Now, the minister responsible for the docket walks into this place, removes 15, and takes them out not for multiplication, but for slaughtering. And quite arrogantly, when he is asked, he says, I had an occasion and a meeting organized to sensitize people on the achievement of the NRM. So I needed cows to slaughter, and this is not the first time. He says, this is not the only farm. I have done it before. And I am talking about the minister. I'll take the information. Yeah.
Right Honourable Speaker, this is in good spirit. And at one time, Right Honourable Speaker, members of the NRM caucus had an argument on the issue of hose. And when this issue of hose came in the caucus, there were a lot of questions raised about those hose. And at the right time, I will lay on the table a receipt of hose made for Kalungu from government, and they were sold, and I had to buy 1 box from the seller, from the marketeer, and I kept that box myself. And this is the same of the minister. One time we got cattle, cows for Kalungu district, meant to be given to people in our district. These cows were brought at the district quarter, we complained, and the cows were given to different people and were sold along the way. All those facts, we have them in Kalungu. So the issue of horse, cows, and the party that took place, I know it very well. People ate 15 cows, and the information is available in the Kalungu district. But I would bring that receipt, Madam Speaker, and the box of horse I bought, meant for government, and I went to buy it from the person who was selling them in one shop, one hardware. I kept it, waiting for other issues that will come as we move ahead.
Information from the minister's neighborhood. It vindicates me even more. Right, Honorable Speaker, this seems to be a consistent and persistent practice. Njeru Stock Farm lost cows before taking the land. The cows which were in Njeru Stock Farm were alleged to have been driven out, again on orders of another minister. Actually, the person mentioned again in this case is the Honorable Bright Rwamirama. And immediately after taking out the cows from the farm, even the land itself disappeared. Right, Honorable Speaker and colleagues, especially for the information of those younger than me, we had stock farms across the country. There's Rubona Stock Farm. They lost a lot of cattle during the war. Now, even after the war, they remembered the cows they had left in Rubona and went for them. We had farm institutes in this country which are no longer functional. Go to Ntao here in Mukono. Go to Buyana Stock Farm. Go to Kabanyolo. Then the former Njeru. We are moving from one crisis to another. Right, Honorable Speaker, how many crises are we going to manage and run as a country, especially those that could be avoided? My prayer for the first matter I raised is to have the minister responsible for internal affairs to come here tomorrow and explain to the country why people continue losing their children. There are children that die in hospitals because drugs have been robbed. But we cannot afford to lose more children because we are shooting them instead of protecting them. On my second point is for the two honorable ministers to come and explain the state of those farms where they are taking cows, and for somebody to explain to us which occasion has ever happened in this country where you slaughtered 15 cows and why you didn't have a budget to buy from the markets from Zimbabwe, in particular Remiaga, where there is no quarantine. You could buy from anywhere. And two, that occasion which necessitated killing the best breed we have in the country. And you call Uganda an agricultural country. I beg to move.
Okay, the Minister of Internal Affairs should come and explain to us why this is happening. But the one which is even more disturbing, I'm really beginning to wonder whether we shall have elections, whether candidates will campaign. If even sitting MPs cannot organize their constituencies, really, who issues these instructions? I told you about the call I got from Centenary on Friday. Said I'm here, but I'm being told I cannot invite people to speak. What's happening? Who's leading this campaign of madness?
Madam Speaker, yesterday the Committee on Legal and Parliamentary Affairs met with the Electoral Commission. The Electoral Commission told us 25 million elective positions in Uganda. The first batch of elections for the interest groups from village to national is going to take place in April. In fact, nominations are starting early April. I am a senior leader in the FDC. Even meetings, smaller meetings, last time I went to Njeru in a primary school, to discuss with the FDC leadership in Uyukwe how we'll go through the candidate selection process. Police came and fired tear gas in a facility where there are even children. We had to take off. So, Madam Speaker, the point you are making, we want to understand. You have the election starting in April. I have a duty as an institution to look for 1.5 candidates. You can't allow me to have a smaller meeting even in the primary school or in a hotel. So what do we do with these elections that you have announced and issued a roadmap?
Madam Speaker.
Madam, much to this afternoon sitting, and I want on your behalf to congratulate Madam Annie Juko, who has been appointed the first CEO of the Stanbic Bank. It has never happened in the history of Uganda. So I think as we are about to celebrate the Women's Day, there's some progress. So we congratulate her and wish her well. Honourable members, we shall be receiving Bishop Jumba in the afternoon. He's coming here to celebrate Lenten with a high mass, which will take place at 5 p.m. In the Parliamentary Conference Hall. I just wanted to alert you that he will be coming, and we welcome him. Now, there are just a few matters of national concern. Honorable Segona, 2 minutes. Honorable Bagara, 2 minutes.
At the beginning of this year, I raised the issue of the land which the government promised to house the headquarters of Afrexim Bank. Afrexim Bank is a developmental bank, and the government promised that they are going to be given land on which to construct their permanent headquarters in the best interest of all Ugandans. Madam Speaker, I raised that issue because there were some contradictions and also conflict of interest in the companies that bidded. And when I raised it, Madam Speaker, one of that company pulled out. And that was not only the reason, but even the money which was being charged, the price at which that land was being sold was exorbitantly high. Madam Speaker, you directed that let's have more information from the Minister of Finance and to see the way forward. Madam Speaker, we have learned that when the other company pulled out, according to ready paper of Monday, Madam Speaker, the new twist came in that instead of looking at the other 3 remaining companies, they went ahead and now they have got another company that even never bidded, and when they advertised, it was not among the bidding companies. Madam Speaker, I'm questioning and wondering as to how a government property can be bought in such manner in which rules and laws of PPDA are frowned. Madam Speaker, I raise this issue so that we can save public payers' money. Right now, the land which they want to buy backdoor, they are selling 2 acres at 7 million shilling opposite Nakasero Hospital. And yet, the other land,
$7 million or 7 million shillings?
Come again?
7 million?
$7 million US dollars, 2 acres at $7 million. Yet, there was the other land which was approximately 4 acres, which was being sold at 8.5.
And Madam Speaker, we are reliably informed that the government is also looking for another land in Kampala to house Islamic banking. There is an idea, and indeed in the Ministry of Finance, they are looking for land where they are going to house the Islamic banking. And, Madam Speaker, if the government goes ahead buying land at $7 million US, the 2 acres, and at the same time they look for another 2 acres to buy land for the Islamic banking, that will be a lot in as far as taxpayers are concerned. Yet, the other land could house both the Afro-Exim Bank and also Islamic banking. Madam Speaker, my concern is for you to direct the Minister of Finance to come and update us about the progress, where we are, because if Afro-Exim Bank is given that piece of land to construct its headquarters, it's going to be in the best interest of all Ugandans and also Islamic banking, since up to now, many Ugandans are yearning to have Islamic banking products because, Madam Speaker, you did a very great work of ensuring that members of Parliament pass an amendment in as far as Financial Amendment Act was concerned to open door for Islamic banking. That is, Madam Speaker, my first concern. The second concern, Madam Speaker, is about 1 week ago or 2 weeks ago, we had papers being circulated around Kampala and many other surrounding areas, where people were moving door to door, pinning these circulars on walls, on trees, Madam Speaker, and these papers which were circulated, there is, the heading was most wanted. And indeed, they listed around 15 members of Parliament who were supposed to be killed as soon as quickly. Madam Speaker, my concern, Madam Speaker, that the names that were mentioned here, most wanted MPs, Honorable Alan Sewanyana, Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, Honorable Kasimate Moses, Honorable Mugume Roland Kaginga, Honorable Latif Sebagala, Honorable Theodore Kechikubo, Honorable Zaki Francis Mutebi, Honorable Barnabas Tinkasimire, Lord Mayor Elias Lukwago, Honorable Medal Lubega Segona, Honorable Mbwate Kamwa, Betty Nambos Bachireke, Honorable Egunyu Nantume. Madam Speaker, these papers circulated and they went viral on social media. Madam Speaker, what surprises us that we have cameras in every corner and we have not got any information from the police as to how these papers were being circulated. And I'm aware, Madam Speaker, that if these papers were talking anything ill against the government, they would have caught them there and then, red-handed. Madam Speaker, the matter worsened when they went to particular individuals. Like Latif Sebagala, you are going to be killed in 4 days because you have 4 wives in various areas. Madam Speaker, telling a member of Parliament and more so a parliamentary imam that you're having 4 wives, is it news that you're going to be killed because you have 4 wives, Madam Speaker? I think, Madam Speaker, these were malicious papers, and my real concern is that they were pinned all over, and up to now, the government has never come out to investigate this. I went to police, and I have a police reference, Kawempe police station, and I opened the case, but up to now, they have not handled this case. Information.
Latif Sebagala is that during the registration of persons, we all provided our thumbprints, and that in modern technology, once you have provided a thumbprint and you touch just a single document and the security accesses it, they are able to trace the origin of the document.
Madam, these papers lightly. You remember, Madam Speaker, some 2 years ago, we had a list where members of many members were mentioned. Senior citizens. And Madam Speaker, out of the 13 who were mentioned, 7 were killed. Madam Speaker, we don't take these situations lightly because it has ever happened. How I wish that, Madam Speaker, you direct the Ministry of Internal Affairs, get interest so that they can investigate. Because we have even had videos where people are being recorded that we attended meetings in order to plan to ban the city, and these videos have gone viral. And the police has all these videos, but they have never taken interest to investigate those people who are claiming such allegations. Madam Speaker, I beg to move. Madam Speaker, allow me to lay on table these malicious papers that were circulated. One on myself, Latif Sebaga Singh, as a person, blaming me of having 4 wives in various areas and threatening death. Madam Speaker, allow me to lay on table. And if these allegations are true, Madam Speaker, because for a parliamentary man to have more than 2-3 wives is normal, and it is understandable, and it is encouraged in Islam. Madam Speaker, I don't have any vacancies right now. I've filled all the 4. Madam Speaker, the next paper I'm laying on table, Madam Speaker, is a list of members of Parliament who were mentioned and that they must be killed. Madam Speaker, allow me to lay these papers on table. I beg to lay. Action of the other center and even a monument center. Up to now, because of conflict of interest, that donation might not at the expense of all Ugandans. And that is exactly what is happening to Afrexim Bank land.
But, honour members, doesn't this government, there's something you buy exorbitantly? Don't we have land? Land Commission holds land in trust for the... Can't we get land from the Uganda, through the Uganda Land Commission?